way too many. I figured we'd have more people.
Okay,
first.
it's recording.
There's a lot of things to pass out.
I printed out the agenda.
Even though the agenda looks very short, there's a lot of stuff.
This I have.
All right, I'll wait to pass out the new business stuff. Can you guys on Zoom hear me okay if I'm talking from here?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, that's fine.
They can't
I just
really
want to make
see
sure if
you.
we're gonna record, that's all right if you can't see me, but if we're gonna record, right, we want to get,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to talking. I'm just gonna get started. I think it will ping you if other people join on here? Okay. Or will it just let them in on that?
I have it. Did you set it up for automatic? We have
Oh.
4 participants. Let me see.
Yeah, they came
So
in.
we have Fabian, Heather, Nick, and us.
I
don't
didn't
see
touch any
Heather.
settings.
Heather, are you there?
She has her volume off.
Okay.
Yeah, she might have just joined it.
I'm here. I'm just not I'm not able to talk. I'm in the studio, so I'm going to be on mute.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just get started and maybe Stacy and okay, so for those of you at home, all of the stuff that we're looking at here, Alan sent in an email last night, so you can kind of click through. So the first, I guess we'll officially call the order at 9:26. The first thing that we want to do is just, I know over the summer, we talked about new positions and you've seen job descriptions, but just, I wanted to do a quick review just so everybody is clear on like where we're at capacity wise and like what each staff person is, meant to kind of support us with, because that'll inform the other conversations for today. So currently, our staff looks like this. We have an executive assistant, which is Alan, who's here. He is very much like our air traffic controller, I would say. He is the main point of contact on the emails, just making sure that emails get answered, that they get forwarded to the appropriate board members that they need to get forwarded to, making sure that people, follow up on things that are important and need feedback. There may be some other like various things along the way that pop up. For right now, that's his main thing. He also has taken over the email newsletters that Elizabeth was doing, and obviously this is all in training. He and I are working together, but he's picking it up very quickly. And then the other big portion of his job right now is to plan our meetings. So Kate's gonna stay on as like helping out with other kind of events that the chamber might do, and Alan is gonna be the meeting person. And we're still not in person, so it's not that huge of a lift, but if we do return in person, we'll have to reevaluate at that point. Can everybody still hear me okay? Anyone want to give a thumbs up? I see Stacy.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. A thumbs up.
Okay, I check in and make sure. Is it cutting out at any point, or we're okay? All right.
Not for me.
The chamber administration manager, which is Fabian, which you all, we've introduced previously, and obviously she's the membership chair as well. Her big job when she first came on was to, Elizabeth and Dina and I had tried to do a big project of cleaning up the member list and invoicing and really trying to narrow down on fewer active members. Before we switched to January due dates, it was like a rolling thing. And so, Nick, the past president, Nick, not Nick Terpone, he, it was only maybe like 1 year of trying to switch invoices to all to January. And it just was never and it's all volunteer positions. It just was never like this definitive, this is our list and this is who's paid and this is the date they need to pay by. We did a really heavy lift of cleaning that list up, and Fabian is like in the last leg of getting that current and up to date. And then that will be very helpful when she jumps into invoicing for next year, which hopefully will start around like November, the process between Dina and Fabian. Some other things that Fabian may support with, obviously, in addition to current members, is new membership. Anytime a new member comes in, I think she's pretty much up to speed at this point of taking that whole process of getting that person on the website and getting them paid and all the things that come along with new members. But some other things that she's going to help to facilitate are hopefully moderating the Facebook groups that we have and maybe engaging with those a little bit more. She will be a person that will help us return to our previous member benefits or new kind of member benefits that we might allow, which we, if everybody recalls, we put on pause because of COVID. And that's about it. And then the next person that's on staff is Nick, who's on Zoom as well. He's our marketing and membership director. His main job is to work with the membership committee and help them implement their ideas. So very much like they have an idea and they have some content and this is how they want to execute it. And then he's spending staff time, helping them to follow through these things. It's very collaborative. Like, it's not necessarily like the membership committee has this idea and just does all the work to implement it. There's still work that committee members do to support it. But the idea is that, we found as a volunteer board previously is that we have all these ideas and, some people can jump to implement things, but there's tons of like holes of being able to actually follow through with ideas. And that's where we wanted to bring in a staff person to support benefits for members, because obviously that's what's going to keep people coming back to the chamber. But another thing that Nick will do that's coming up, and we'll touch on it slightly today, is figuring out who our board and committee members will be for next year, or who's going to stay over, how we're going to do nominations and get new people in as well if need be. He's already done this next point really well. It was like the first thing we had him do. He reached out to businesses in Dobbs Ferry. There was a advocacy situation that we needed to address with the village. And he reached out to businesses to poll them and got a ton of feedback right away, which is another thing that we always struggle to do, is like, it takes a lot of time to reach out to, 30 or 40 or 50 businesses in the downtown to gather their feedback. So he ran with that and made it happen. What else? He also is, kind of working hand in hand with Rosie, our social media coordinator. She's pretty self-sufficient, but he's helping her to incorporate some more content and working with her, checking her calendars, her social media calendars that she puts together and that sort of thing, which previously Elizabeth was kind of doing. We have on here a point for him to help with his managing member promotion submissions on an email calendar, tourism promotion opportunities, but we haven't really gotten into that yet. The calendar just launched, and we haven't really. We're trying to build that email list, which is what he's helping with. Is there's a QR code and getting the flyers out there for people to join this email list in the community that would be interested in getting promotions from local businesses. So that's a kind of an ongoing project that we'll be working on. And let's see, he also will be working with Fabian and myself on returning to member benefits for 2022. And any, kind of updates that need to happen on the website in regards to membership, he can coordinate with Jennifer on that as well. Event coordinator is Kate, and as I said, she's going to be, if we return to any other events, like for example, women's networking, she is going to help to facilitate those kinds of events, and then Alan will speak to the meetings. Social media coordinator, like I talked about, was Rosie. She manages posts and engagement for Facebook and Instagram, and now we're starting to integrate TikTok because of a membership program. She, just so everybody's clear on what she does specifically, is not necessarily create original content, that's just kind of requested of the chamber from member businesses. She creates her posts based on information that she finds on a member's website, and she has a whole schedule that she follows. She's, so that it's equitable, she goes down the list of members. So all of those posts that you see about members is a process that just happens in and of itself, which is a lot of the way that we have things set up is that a lot of these things have to be able to happen in kind of an organized and not, can't be a lot of back and forth. So that's one reason why we don't, do original, like somebody has an event coming up and, can you share this on the chamber page? What she does do on Instagram is that it's easy to share stories if people tag us. So that's one way for kind of, time sensitive things that might come up with members. We always tell them tag on Facebook, and because she does this post scheduling, but she also goes on and manages engagement. She sees these things and she posts them, in real time or close to real time.
So a question there. So we can't send in any events or things that are happening
So-
to Rosie?
Yeah, for social media. So you can post about it on your own social media on Instagram and tag the chamber, and that's how she will share it. That's also, we implemented the calendar to the website. The idea is that eventually when we get that calendar, people using that calendar, and when we get a robust email list put together of residents, basically when we have these platforms to kind of collect and disseminate information, then we'll be able to get into sharing more kind of unique one-off content like that for members. And at that point also there probably will be like a paid component. And we obviously would have to figure that out, but pre-COVID, the membership committee wanted to implement something like that in the future where you can pay to advertise or you can pay to, not necessarily as a fundraiser for the chamber, but just to manage, to be able to cover the staff time that goes into doing that, and keep it from being this overwhelming thing. If you have something that's worth to pay for to advertise on the chamber platforms, then that's how we go about it. But we're not there yet, so we're still kind of in that.
Someone posted on the calendar for the Ardsley 125th.
Okay.
Yeah, so and the village, so that just kind of is in respect to members. There are things that like the villages or community organizations might share with us and that we might share in email. That's why Elizabeth kind of did emails that were very specific to certain things. So we weren't just kind of having to send off emails like all the time. So she has the village emails, which is all the village information, and that goes out once a month. She has county, state, and federal, that goes out once a month. There's a specific chamber newsletter that is just chamber information, just information that the chamber generates or the chamber wants to share if we're collaborating on an event. If there's a resource, we want to lead people to, if we have a meeting or an event coming up. And then those are the three basic newsletters that we send out, and none of those really contain like in Harper's, if we had like burger and beer night, like we wouldn't send something like that out yet, but maybe in the future, now that we have a calendar and we have a way to kind of make this more of a system that we can follow, as opposed to just kind of somebody trying to like keep up with all the barrage of things that come in. Because you'll see on here that the people that that are on here, they're 5, 8, 10 hours a week. Like it's really not a lot of time. And then you'll see in the budget, that time adds up quickly. So we'll get to that.
Yes, it does.
And the last point is oh, I'm sorry, no, there's a couple more. The TikTok intern is a new person that we've been wanting, the membership committee has been wanting to implement for a long time. And this is actually a member benefit in that the TikTok intern will go to a business and film a TikTok video for them. That content will get shared to the chamber channels, and then which it can also get shared to Instagram. TikTok videos can get shared to Instagram, and then the chamber will also share that video with the businesses, and the businesses can use it on their platforms. It's very much, I don't think a lot of people have signed up, and it's very much a pilot kind of thing. And maybe at some point it'll be more prevalent. It'll be a paid component, maybe not. But TikTok is really like, if you're talking about the benefit of social media, Facebook and Instagram have become hard to get through the noise for various reasons. And TikTok is that new social media platform that we may be able to more easily get through the noise. And we'd like to support the members in promoting them and getting them acquainted with it and like starting to use it. Last person that we have on is obviously our webmaster, Jennifer, who, she previously was a committee co-chair, but she's moving out of the Rivertowns. But she's still going to stay on as our webmaster. And she's the one who built the website that we have currently, and any kind of updates or changes that that we need, she does. And she does it fast, and she does it good. She's got all the people on the website that have given us information to be on the website. So she's really great. So that's the gist of staff, just to give you guys a recap as we go through the rest of this. The next thing is our budget update, and maybe we can go through this together if you want, Dina.
Yeah, we made some adjustments yesterday and updated a lot of things that we had thrown on there. Now, as time passed, we understand a little bit better how we're moving forward with the membership. The actual paid members is a little more accurate. We also cleaned up some of it was a little fuzzy with fundraising and the grants. We had a grant for the community table, which we were anticipating to get, so we had added it. We took it out because it's October now. The fundraising that we have in place is that appears, under the community table grant match. We've spent maybe 5180 of that. Still have some money to spend there. The rest is all money for the chamber that we've received from the business grant of 25,000, and you'll see also that we're anticipating, because we just got word that we're getting another $17,000 grant down the very short.
Yeah, and I'll mention that briefly. We applied for a second business first, I think is what it's called, grant with the county, and the maximum that you could apply for was 25,000. They gave us 17,000. The breakdown on our application that we submitted is that we would spend 15 on staff and 10 on marketing. So we just got word that we got the grant. So Dina and I will have to go through the budget and figure out, we did kind of a little bit, but we'll have to really figure out what that breakdown might be, what we're allocating it to.
Yeah.
We haven't reflected it in the year to date yet because we haven't actually received the money, but it is in the projected, the 42,000.
Right, and I can break out another column to show what we project to spend on various things. That's easy enough to do. So I'll add a column here that we can review next time.
Let's see, what else about income? Just a couple points on, so membership dues, what we decided to do, because we've gotten to a point where we feel like anybody who was a current member that was going to pay has paid, and we're not going to pursue anybody who hasn't been unpaid at this point. It's just very time consuming. So that 10,000 number is really like, if we had any new members join and current, old members that paid for dues this year, we certainly could see new members come in before the end of the year. Definitely if the membership committee promotion that we'll talk about is successful. So that's the number that we're really looking at. We're hoping that will grow. But that's what we're looking at, that we can probably bank on definitely for 2022, but obviously the goal is to really grow that exponentially. There's businesses that could join and grow that exponentially. The other point on here is that there's still a little work left to do is sponsorship and ticketed events. We had set a projected amount, and you can see that the year to date, what we reached, this is really the women's networking events, which have always been a really great event for the chamber, both for the members and just, for the chamber in general to bring revenue in. We haven't had any expenses because it's been virtual. Usually there are like a lot of expenses tied to this event. There's drinks and there's food and it's, at a venue and, so we think that we'll reach that sponsorship and ticketed event number by the end of the year. It'd be great if we could exceed it, if there were opportunities to exceed it in the future. But we're pretty sure that, like, as far as income goes, these numbers we can count on. But you'll see as we get to the end of the budget, we're going to need to do a little more work with more members and raising more money.
And just one thing,
Yeah.
just before I forget, in the membership and the dues section, that's not really accurately reflecting the number of members. Because again, this year we had
that's
members
true.
who did not pay. We had the option to not pay, join a committee instead, or somehow volunteer. And so that number is a little squishy right now. So the list of members is a lot longer than it's reflected.
Okay.
But it still needs to grow.
Yes. All right. So as far as expenses, you see this community table section. What we had done was we had a grant from the county, and we had tried to match that grant through GoFundMe campaign. And that is basically, what we raised from the GoFundMe campaign. There was more kind of like offline. We actually did more meals than this, but the money was like a corporate donation from Tito's and had to go through Spring Partner, which is who we were giving the meals to. They needed it to be a registered 501c3. So, it was definitely a more successful campaign than it shows here, but we've definitely taken a pause on it for a number of reasons. Like I was the main driver for it, and then I took over as president and just haven't, had the time to drive this project in addition to all the things with the chamber. And also there's a lot of the restaurants are in flux. I think it's a project that could be a really good member benefit in the future. But the way that things are going with COVID and staffing and just, we jumped back into like, being able to have people in restaurants like packed again, so it's hard also on the restaurant end logistically to work within that model of making meals that we had. So it's there. I think we'd like to keep it as a member benefit. I think that it would be very attractive to getting restaurant members to join, which is a issue for chambers across the board. I attend, the county meetings for chambers, and it is across the board. Chambers have a really hard time getting restaurants to join, so that's something to think about. Subscriptions, we can skip over. We don't have to talk about those. Those are all just kind of things that we need to do the administrative behind the scenes stuff. Membership dues, we haven't incurred some of those yet. And, maybe if we're short this year on the budget, we could skip business council Westchester.
Yeah, I mean,
So there's definitely some flexibility in here and things that we haven't paid yet that can come off. When you skip down to contractors, you see a budgeted amount of what we could potentially spend by the end of the year versus what we've spent so far. And we just did this by kind of estimating what the hours might be through the end of the year on their base rate. So obviously, if we get to a point where we feel like, and I don't think this is going to happen, but if we felt like the chamber is, not taking in money as they should be, we would have a conversation with everybody that we're working with and, try not to max out the number of hours that, we have for them.
yeah.
But at the same time, everybody who's employed their jobs will generate income for the chamber, especially these membership initiatives. So there's a fine balance there that, we kind of have to maintain behind the scenes of like, we need them to pour time into getting new members because that's only gonna, raise more money for the chamber.
We have to invest to grow, right?
It is,
Yeah.
yes, but we have to be careful because it's like,
It's a balancing
it's a
act.
balancing act. I mean,
Yeah.
the chamber does have funds to cover a deficit in the bank account, but we don't want to deplete the chamber's bank account. So there's a balancing act there. What else? Let's move on. Legal and professional, that's all pretty self-explanatory. Committee allowances, this is where we definitely, at the beginning of the year, we were like, let's try to give the committees some money so that they feel like they have some latitude to do things, don't have to like ask for permission. This has totally changed. Like, obviously membership has blown up because we have a really great membership committee and a lot of initiatives, and we've allocated more money here. And then there are a couple of committees that probably won't spend any money this year, even though we've allocated money for them. So we'll see how that kind of pans out in the end. Supplies, obviously we have not had a lot of in-person stuff, so there hasn't been really any supplies. Or we did purchase an iPad that we'll be maintaining because for one, we needed kind of like a touch point electronically, offline. And then also when we returned to in-person, we were kind of shuffling around other people's like devices to check people in, to charge, if we were at Rivertown Public Market to pay for things, or, at meetings to get people to, pay. It's really, the chamber needs to have like a device that can do all of these
And
things.
can be handed off.
And it can be handed off to
as
whoever
needed.
needs to use it. So because we got the grants this year, we invested in that to help us out and make things just less shuffling in the future. Travel and entertainment, we budgeted an amount. We actually started with a smaller amount for board appreciation, but now as we're feeling like we can return to in-person things, we upped that number a little bit. Obviously, we don't have to spend all of it. Let me back up really quick too. I plugged in a number here for events and meetings. That's in case we can return to an in-person meeting before the end of the year, or maybe a holiday party, which we used to do. Obviously, we don't have to spend that, but I wanted to put it in there to see what it did to our budget. So that those funds are in there now. I don't think we'll do any travel or business development this year. But business development meaning like if a board member needed to like attend something, we would cover the costs on a seminar or something. I don't see us doing that before the end of the year, so we probably won't incur those costs. So
when we put this together originally, and it's still so early on in the process,
we were like maybe
coming
not.
out of COVID or not, or maybe coming.
So let me ask if you want to add anything, and then also pause really quick in case there's questions so far on the budget, because I just want to make sure everybody's clear on what we budgeted and how we're spending money, because we are going to talk about getting some ideas for line items for next year when we move on to new business.
I'm good. Just take questions.
Okay. Any questions about our budget?
Michelle.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, it's Stacy. There's so many things that you're doing that's so great. So thank you so much. And I'm in touch with some of the businesses in Irvington. I'm just wondering, what kind of outreach are we doing? Because what I'm hearing is, oh, I need marketing, or oh, I need exposure, but they're not members. So how do I communicate to them that, one, they should join, but two, more importantly, like what are the benefits of them joining? I'm just wondering like what the outreach is so that they're aware of, what's available.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So when I get into the last old business item is just kind of recapping the vision that I put together, and I'll detail kind of everything we've done so far, and I'll touch on the membership committee's plan for outreach that we've been like planning for, and now I think they're at a point to start implementing. And that's something that these reps that are reaching out to businesses like you, Stacy, can help facilitate in addition to the membership committee members. But that question keeps coming up about like, what are the benefits? It's an even harder question to answer now because we pulled back on a lot of things because of COVID. What I do think it's important that it keeps coming up, and we don't necessarily have, something that outlines that for them. I think that we put together a flyer or a business card that has a QR code that would make it very easy for them to get to their website to our website from their phone, which details things on the website. And we pulled away from doing a physical flyer that details these things. But I do keep hearing this come up, and I wonder, and this is not to be decided now, but I wonder because Fabian and Nick, you're on the call, if maybe that's something that needs to be addressed after this. Maybe it's just like a sheet of paper that we can easily print out to give with that, staple that business card to it, that details everything we've done post-COVID, you know, and where we might be heading, like how the chamber might be helping them. And obviously that's something, you know, I can help the membership committee put together.
Yeah, yeah, just something, you know, even, you know.
Yeah, or maybe a letter, maybe it's a letter from the president, maybe it's just a letter that I write that kind of summarizes
Mhm.
our vision into like a shorter, you know, like letter, and we staple the business card to that.
Right,
That
right.
might be- So
Yeah.
that's a good conversation to have.
okay, all right, yeah, because just, you know, when I'm talking with people, then they're saying what they need, I'm like, yeah, but you can't get it unless you join. Right, so, right, okay,
It's important. We want, for a while there, we were sending emails to everybody, and now that we have a more honed down member list, we're limiting a lot of these emails that we're putting together to just members, because it, you know, it also takes staff time
Sure.
to collect this information and to edit it and put it in these, like, you know, pretty
Right.
little emails and on our website. So, you know, the members are paying for that. essentially.
right, okay, great,
So,
thank you.
that's a good segue to the next, unless there are any other questions about budget or staffing.
No, and unfortunately, I have to jump off a little early, I'm sorry, but thank you, okay.
So I'll go through, let me see how we're doing on time. We're good. I'll go through our 2021 vision document pretty quickly before we head into new business, which is really like, how are we going to finish out the year and how are we going to get into 2022? So you'll recall the main focus of the vision was just like funding. How do we support businesses with money? How do we support the chamber with money so that we can all continue to do what we need to do, which has like a ripple effect on the local economy and, you know, and residents and all of that. So just to run down a list, a very like quick list of bullet points of things that we've done since the beginning of the year. We had put together web categories that were more specific to minority female-owned businesses, that kind of thing, so that there was more visibility for those businesses. We've worked very hard on advocacy, and you know, this ties into village rep relationships, where for the most part in the villages, the relationship is informative. It's information share back and forth. There's one village in particular, which I won't name, but we know is not driven by information share. It's purely advocacy, and we've had to spend a lot of time and energy advocating for the businesses as opposed to just having like an honest conversation about what makes sense. And it's definitely been a big roadblock for us, and really not the best use of time or funds, to be honest, for the chamber and for the village. And so one of my goals as we get into new business, I'll tell you how I kind of would like to try to change that dynamic and also strengthen the information dynamic with the other villages and like support that openness that we have with the villages that we brought on by COVID, where they really are like, what do you need? You know, and you know, how can the chamber help and what do you need to help? We want that to be the dynamic, not like we have to attend the board of trustee meeting and, you know, tell them how many businesses are in favor of XYZ. So the next thing we did was implement the resource page. We were getting a lot of resources all the time and sending these emails out, and we thought it would be great to have a fixed resource page, which is something I think we can continue on in the future, where you can just visit that page and you don't have to search through the emails. The emails are great to alert you that something has come up, but it's going to live on the resource page. We did talk about making it member only and decided not to, but we can certainly revisit that in the future if we want that to be a benefit for only members to have that living resource page. And that resource page, obviously, you know, it has marketing stuff. It has all sorts of things not related to funding, but the idea was to really have a place for funding opportunities to like live so that people could go there and get all the information they need for funding. What else? We did, we gave back to businesses in the form of gift certificates. So through the community table grant and also through this membership program that we're going to launch, because of the grant funding, we were able to actually purchase gift certificates from our local businesses directly, which is a direct impact on them and would be great to continue in the future. We just launched a calendar. We did with our webmaster, we did a lot of research into other calendars and how we can kind of automate this calendar. And it's now live on our website, and now the goal is going to be to get the information out there about the calendar and get people posting on the calendar. So this is really a place for it's only for members, or for like if the village has an event, obviously they can put it on there. But any businesses that are not members cannot put it on this calendar. So that is a definite member benefit. The meals, like I mentioned, is something that we took part in, and that was very helpful to both the community and to the businesses that participated. Let's see, emails, we got a lot better at emails. I mean, before we didn't have a paid person to do emails before Elizabeth, and she really streamlined the process and made it an approachable, way to get information out to members. We are launching into TikTok, which, like I mentioned, is going to be, I think, a really good and helpful project for members. We are working on building our members' customer base by trying to get, since we're representing the 4 villages, getting residents of the 4 villages to buy into this list that the chamber is developing that we can then use to promote businesses promotion. So hopefully their customer base will expand. It seems silly that like we all live within whatever mile radius it is, but I think people do really kind of stick to their own villages, and hopefully this campaign will, draw people to go to the other villages and explore. What else? Yes, TAP, for the minority-owned committee, we did a partnership with TAP. That was what kept coming up with the committee chairs, was that when English is a second language, or when it's not, but you're a minority-owned business owner, there's just a lot of like disconnect of like how to access funds, how to access help. And there's a variety of reasons for this. And so the idea was to target and to pair up TAP, which is an organization based in Westchester that offers all kinds of one-on-one help. It's almost like SCORE Westchester, but SCORE is like a bunch of like retired people, may not have the most like up-to-date right stuff. TAP is like people in the field, lawyers and accountants and all sorts of people, and it's very targeted strategic support. This program, basically the business owners had to submit all of their financial information, and the goal is for them to sit down with them and strategize on ways that they can kind of either pivot or adapt to what's happening to their business. Sponsors on the web was not, an idea. We didn't think we would have any sponsors, but there are businesses that ended up, as we've seen, doing well. And we put out a sponsorship call, just seeing who would respond for women's networking events, and we got them. And so now we have focused on kind of making sure those sponsors also live on our website as a benefit. And in the future is something we can build on as far as like the paid edition that would help raise money for the chambers, having a sponsorship page on our website, which also obviously gives helps the members with visibility. Sponsorship is also a member-only option, so you have to be a member to be a sponsor. So we can't just have some random insurance company sponsoring an event to get some visibility. They have to buy into the chamber first. What else? Tourism. It's very much behind the scenes working on tourism and how that could draw people to the Rivertowns. Tourism is very much a marketing campaign that's going to take money and time, and it needs to have a clear plan and idea of how we're going to source funding for that. In the course of them kind of researching, the county did kind of develop more on their tourism campaign for the county, and there's some avenues for the villages to kind of advertise. And so we might try to piggyback on that, but still kind of figure out how we can do our own thing to promote Rivertowns to visitors and get visitors to Rivertowns. I think that covers pretty much, like, very quickly everything that we've done so far this year. And it's all done with in mind of like how do we support our members financially. I think that we can expand a little bit beyond that, next year. I know that, marketing support or networking is definitely a benefit for certain businesses. And visibility is a benefit for certain businesses, and we can expand back into those goals for next year. I just want to go through my notes really quick to figure out if I can cover anything. I think that that's it. So as far as finishing out the year, I have, a section on here for 2021 events. And anytime I talked about this vision, it was like, we're not going to do events this year. We're just not just because of COVID, and worrying about if we're allowed to do them or not, but just takes a lot of time and effort. And we wanted to focus our money and our time with driving funds directly to the businesses. And then if we spent time and effort on it and we have to cancel it, then it's basically just a waste of resources. That said, I think that as we're getting close to the end of the year, maybe we're not going to have a holiday trolley, but there certainly should be a focus on finishing out the year with promoting businesses during the holiday season, which is what the trolley did in the past. And maybe that there's a virtual way that we can do that and get online and help to promote a shop local push this year for holiday promotion. And maybe that's what our focus should be. It would be great networking wise to get an in-person networking event before the end of the year. And we definitely still have that in the back of our mind. And if the opportunity presents itself, then, we'll do it. But I don't think we'll do any like large scale event before the end of the year. So that's old business. That's everything that we've done so
Can I
far.
interject
Yes.
with the event idea or the replacement of the
Yes.
trolley? What about doing a Rivertown contest where you have a grand prize of some sort? The person who's visited the most restaurants, or doing something
I
like
see.
that.
Yeah, like, or
I'll have one of those like sticker things that we visit
right.
a restaurant.
Yeah, like the,
Yeah.
and so, and I think of these things, like definitely other chambers have these kinds of ideas. I think Dobbs Ferry does a parking thing where you get like a certain amount free on parking if you bring in a receipt that you spend. Hastings obviously always does a really good job, and they have ideas that we could draw from and do like, as a chamber. So that is a good point, is that, beyond just kind of rounding up and having like a centralized, like, here are our members and here's what they offer, and you should go shop at them. Here's an incentive.
Right, right. First and second prize or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good.
All right. So any questions for anybody else that's on the call before I move on? All right. So I have put together a draft for the 2022 vision. When you can click on that. And I'm going to run through that, and then I can take feedback on it, and there's a couple areas where there's some questions in here to be answered. Do you feel like it's going to rain?
I was just checking to see, is it the tree shaking? I think it's,
Is there a drizzle? Might have to adjust, guys.
it might have to just, but that's okay. It's not a bunch. It's not.
Okay. All right, so maybe I'll go from the top to the bottom on this. So there's still certainly a focus on funding. There's going to be a focus on funding for a while, is that physical dollars. And when you talk to businesses that have brick and mortars, which is who we really want to join the chamber, the same thing for them is just that it costs a lot of money to have a brick and mortar storefront. And that is their main focus right now, is making sure that they can keep up with that. So funding is always going to be at the forefront as we open ourselves up to other membership benefits. funding for the chamber specifically, we can't help the businesses thrive unless the chamber is properly funded. And we have been lucky to have a county government that is so supportive. You know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future and if that may dry up. The dollar amount that this year, obviously, we have that firm dollar amount, $42,000, is key going into next year. We don't know if we're going to have that money, and we need to make up that money somewhere. So that's going to be kind of like a big thing hanging over our head as we go into 2022. But there's certainly opportunities to make more money if we can return to some in-person events. It's always been proposed in the past, village budgets. Do we ask the villages for money? And some villages have said yes, we should, and some, you know, don't think would give us money. That's certainly something that we could explore, asking them for money. I actually think, you know, there's opportunities like with the Rivertown Public Market, where if we just ask them for an in-kind, you know, in-kind resources, like they don't charge us for PW or police work on these events, that we can actually raise a lot of money from these events instead of just breaking even. So it can be a benefit for the businesses in that village, and the chamber can also actually raise money off of it, which is how it operates in other villages. Certainly in Terrytown, where they have a 100-year-old chamber, that's the relationship, and we have to, you know, approach it with like, that is a good relationship to have, and we need to figure out how to get all of the villages on board with that kind of relationship, because our work helps them as well. So we're an ecosystem. We also have talked about developing a public annual appeal. I know, Alan, what was the chamber that it was? New Rochelle. Yep. New Rochelle has a donate button on their website, and that's maybe something that we want to explore. The chamber, when it was the Dobbs Ferry Chamber, had a resident option, and when we moved to Rivertowns Chamber, the board decided to remove that option because it was like, we're working to benefit our members. Like, why? What are we going to do? You know, we're a business organization. It didn't make sense. But there are people in the community that want to support the chamber, and so we may explore implementing something like that to make up some funds. Obviously, new members. This is the biggest push, and we'll see, you know, what happens this fall with the membership committee push, and well, I'm sure we'll learn from it and figure out if, you know, we can expand on it. That is the biggest push. I mean, we hover around 100 members. A lot of that is people that work from home, and also brick and mortar Dobbs Ferry businesses, because the chamber started in Dobbs Ferry. There is so much potential for brick and mortar businesses in other villages. Yeah. Not just because we haven't tapped into the ones that are there, but there are tons of new ones that popped up in Hastings. There's a downtown improvement committee that is really working hard to try to get new businesses in Dobbs Ferry. There's potential there to get brick and mortar businesses. So as we figure out what the benefits are, we just have to keep in mind that's always the question that we get from brick and mortar versus people who work from home. People who work from home, or insurance agencies or real estate companies, really like the networking stuff. They like the visibility. That's what talks to them, and we did that really well. The brick and mortar businesses have much different priorities, and so we have to keep that in mind if we're going to get them to join. Sponsorships, obviously, I think that there'll be room to expand on sponsorships next year. We've done a lot of great events in the past, and I think there's room to expand on that. Like I said, keeping costs down is key. Getting the villages who to be partners in these events and buy into the fact that the chamber needs support, and this is how they can support us. The second item is you know, really diving more into the village rep roles. This year, my goal was to expand the board beyond what we ever had, just so that we had more feet on the ground, that we could get out there and start talking to people and just starting those relationships, which is what has happened. We've started a lot of relationships, and we're going to build on those relationships. I think that the village rep roles, it was made very clear this year that maybe they need to be a little bit more focused, being that there's somebody who is very visible to the village, who attends the Board of Trustee meetings. It's, you know, I think it's important for the villages and for us trying to convince them about this relationship that they see someone from the chamber at their meeting. And, you know, while they're Zoom and we can watch a recording, reporting, it's made very clear to us by trustees and mayors, and, you know, village administrators that for whatever reason, that act of being there and showing up to their meetings for whatever reason is important to them. And so it's something we might need to focus more on in the next year. And then tying like those community relationships that were started into that rep role, just so that person is the kind of the one point of contact for anybody outside of members in the village. Then implementing, you know, some kind of, Tarrytown has merchants councils, but implementing some sort of village rep role that really focuses on merchants. We've seen not just advocacy, but like with other villages who do reach out for us for information, is that we don't have a central person that is really in touch, like personally, with brick and mortar businesses. And the village in Hastings has employed someone to do that, and it's worked really well. And they have a lot of contact, and there is no reason why the chamber can't move to that and shouldn't move to that. So maybe having a village rep, when this is going to be a very hard sell, have a village rep that's a merchant, who you know can engage with their peers and pass information back and forth and start to build that relationship like we want to with those businesses.
Hastings is going to be challenged. Obviously, there's already someone filling that role. It's a paid position. She's very protective of it. She does a great
Right.
job. She's also very protective. So we need to make sure that.
Right.
We
I
don't,
mean, I was thought of that as a resource. Like she's already doing the
she's
work
already
for that
doing the
rep.
work.
That
But she
rep's
needs,
job is going to be
and
a
she's
lot
going to
easier.
share if we help her and
Right.
give her some support as well. But I think for the other villages that don't have that, that's a good place to start.
It's going to be more heavy lifting, definitely.
It's going to be
I
more
know,
heavy
I know
lifting for
Mayor
sure.
Nancy talked about it.
Yeah,
She
adding
actually,
one. Yeah, and
for
Dom
our
Cherry
sake.
has talked about it also.
Oh, that's
And
really
I hope they
exciting.
see the success in Hastings and go like,
Right.
yeah, we should
Yeah.
we should
Yeah,
have this
makes sense.
person. And even if the villages have this person, I still think that the chamber needs their own version of it because we have our goals and the village has their goals and they're different.
Mhm.
And those two people can certainly collaborate and work with one another. All right, so the next kind of goal for 2022 obviously is to keep going with this energy from the membership committee, growing that community engagement. We've really been wanting to grow that like email list of the community, and it's been a lot of like, you know, figuring out how to get the information out there and get people to join. And the goal is going to be to get out there and get people on this email list and growing that email list into the thousands. I know from like my business personally, you know, our list is like, I think we have like 4,000 or 5,000 people just from one restaurant.
Mhm.
You know, there's no reason why the chamber can't build something like that across all of our villages. What else? We more, like I've mentioned before, maybe diving into some more paid opportunities to support implementation of these promotional opportunities. But keeping, you know, an open mind with like what businesses can afford, you know, what can we reasonably do, you know, and what is the cost on that. Growing new members exponentially, obviously you keep hearing that, but like that is a big, almost easy way to raise money because that's money. We have it, you know, and then every year we just bill that person and we just have to collect that money every year. It's not like, you know, every year we have to go out there and get people to donate to the chamber. Like this is somebody who's a member, we have their information, we can engage them year to year. So it's really important to grow the membership
Are
from
we-
fundraising.
Sorry. Are we increasing the membership fee for next year? or-
No. So the membership fee was increased from when it became Dobbs Ferry to Rivertowns, I think slightly. And then a membership committee was formed under Nick and I that did research across the entire county of what chambers charge. And we were well below that.
Mhm.
And so we increased it. And we also implemented the 50% part
Right.
so that encouraged members to engage, or if somebody just wanted to be a member for visibility, then they could pay the premium for that, and that's fine. There's
Right.
different, you know, reasons for joining the chamber. We definitely got some pushback, and that's something to talk about as far as membership goes. Of like when we're talking about the benefits for the next year, is that, you know, there are maybe non-profits. There's a little bit of pushback of like people who don't necessarily want to pay that. Some of it is unwarranted. Some of it's like really $200, $250 for the year. Like you can, you know,
yeah.
I know if you can afford that.
Yeah, it is
personally.
to show them that they will get a benefit. It's a cycle.
Right.
You know, we
Right.
need the money to do the events, to implement the ideas
And
that will then
Right.
convince people that they're getting a benefit.
they're buying into the community benefit,
Mm.
really. Like it's not like $200 is going to give them XYZ, you know,
Right.
like physically. They're
Yeah.
they're getting, I personally, they're getting more for their money, is what I say. But you know, some people are very focused on that. Like, where is my logo going to be? And are you going to send out emails for me? And it's just, you know, it's just the way it is. So what else? Engaging membership through participation. We really need to look at, this is a question to be answered. We need to look at what committee requirements look like in 2022. How do we get people to be on committees if it's not a requirement of the working membership? You know, if we implement the working membership previously, it was like you could also give a discount, you could host a meeting. Like there were different things that you could do to achieve that. So how do we get people to participate in these committees in 2022? That is a question to be answered. Implementing post-COVID membership benefits. You know, there's a list of things here that need to be considered, like reevaluating what's on the website. Some of the stuff just may not apply. This was developed pre-COVID. We're in a different world now. So some of it may need to be taken down. There are new things like TikTok, resources page, community calendar that weren't even like an idea when pre-COVID, and now they're there. So we definitely need to push those new resources that we pulled together this year. What events and committees support our members? Do we need to reevaluate, and we'll get into that with board positions? Do we need to reevaluate, you know, the committees and what committees are important to do the work? Developing and prioritizing benefits that are relevant to merchants. Like I keep saying, we're not going to get them to be members if we aren't realistic about what's a benefit to that kind of business. I think I even run into this with the county too, where, you know, they're very focused. They're still very focused on that, like visibility, marketing, and networking thing. And it's like the merchants, marketing doesn't work the same way for a small business merchant that it does for bigger corporations. And they're not as focused on that. They market in a completely different way than bigger businesses. And so shifting that mindset to like, what is really relevant for them, and it's hyper local. Like they're not. And I've tried this for 10 years at Harper's. We've tried everything. We've tried to like do big things to draw people from the other end of the county, but that customer base isn't going to come as often as a customer base that's more local.
Mhm.
So I know I keep reiterating a couple things, but I just want it to be like top of mind when we're deciding like how to dive into the next year. How do we continue to drive funding to our members? Like I said, grants, gift certificate programs. Do we continue to do promotions around the holidays or the meals? The meals are very welcome by the organizations, or gift certificates by the organizations that help people in our community, by the food banks and other organizations. They're very welcome. And they're willing to like figure out logistically how to work with us if we source them for them. So there's definitely, that's an opportunity there. Obviously funding is the only hang up to making that work, because that requires a lot of funding, but that would be a great merchant benefit, is spending dollars at them.
I'm wondering if we can somehow, is it possible to piggyback or duplicate the meals, the community table meals program for the holidays, to buy gift certificates specific for people who are underprivileged, who can go
Shop.
Yeah.
That's a good
And that
idea.
would take
Yeah,
it
for
over
retail.
for
Yep.
retail.
And-
Because they always complain that,
Yeah.
you know, we don't.
Hastings
focus on
has-
the restaurants.
Hastings has this really great program, and this doesn't necessarily use, the gift certificates had a high redemption rate with the meals. But typically gift certificates are also a source of revenue in the holidays that businesses push, because there isn't the percentage that actually get redeemed is, you know, it's just money that they
Right.
get, because a
Right.
lot of them just never end up getting redeemed. So where I was going with that is that the village has this great program where they're promoting buying gift certificates, and the money goes to this company that then it's used like a Visa gift card, right? And that's great. And it can only be spent with the local villages, and that's one piece of it. But that money, if it doesn't get spent, stays at this like random company
Yeah.
that is, you know, holding the money, right? And they take like a percentage of it every year as income. So that's great. And I'm happy that the village is doing that. It'd be great if other villages did that, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do
The
that
money
program.
to sit with.
I like,
something.
if we're gonna spend our money, like I
Yeah.
want to like actually
Spend
spend
it.
it
Agreed.
at the members, at
Right.
the member businesses.
Agreed.
Maybe let's take a pause there really quick, because there were some question marks I had in here that we don't have to answer today, but if there's any input about like engaging through participation or through member benefits, like anything, you know, how we're going to engage with the villages. Is there anything that you think that I should add to this, to our goals for 2022? Anything that like I've missed that you think would be a benefit, or a way that we should work more strategically with members or the village? Any
So I'm a contributor to an organization. I don't have to pay membership. So they had a lunch partnership. It was like a meetings professional international. So a lot of people like me with their positions were eliminated. So it was a chance for us to just kind of log on every Wednesday at 12, lunch bunch kind of event, joke around. But also every other week they would rotate guest speakers. So it was always like on my mind, like, oh, I got to log on for lunch bunch so I could connect and interact with people in the same industry. And I did it for so long during COVID, like when I was working, and then when my job was eliminated, and then like I thought it was just fun. It was a good way to get your name out there, network. I was looking for a job. I would tell people I'm looking for a job, and then I'm part of another organization that meets every week, and we kind of do the same thing. We just chat. First 10 minutes, everyone does their intros, pitches their businesses. So I just wonder if there's like a weekly component that could happen.
more frequent networking? Yeah. I mean, when we had our meetings in person at restaurants, we had the meetings like not really at, you know, there wasn't a networking component to it, and it was always just kind of like you have to come in. It was at a restaurant, you come in, like sit down and have a meeting. And when Nick and I took over, it was like, we're gonna have it at a different restaurant every month, and we're gonna add a half an hour for networking, and the participation shot up.
Mhm.
So like a fun, especially when we return in person, a fun, like, yeah, more frequent fun networking, which is definitely, I'm gonna grab a pen. I know you were taking comments, but
I'm kind of,
just so I can like easily, are you doing this?
not really,
I can
because I'm
easily
gonna do
put in
the,
edits.
I'm gonna
So,
pop into
you
the
know,
recording.
as far as like, I know I've highlighted things that I think are important, but what I'm hearing you guys say is like really like networking. We need to get back into it more often next year. Up the networking.
And
Another-
even if it's Zoom too. I mean, I know people want to meet in person, but even
Right.
people are so accustomed to just meeting on Zoom now, so
Right.
it'd be a good idea.
Sometimes it makes it
Maybe even
easier.
have a
Makes it easier too.
networking event that targets, really specifically tries to draw in non-members for free this one time. I think we kind of had that a little bit with the in-person meetings where you could bring somebody
We
as
did.
a guest and.
And now everything's just kind of free and you can come to it. Doing maybe like, you know, for new members, we highlight them in meetings, like we the month that they join. You know, we give them a chance to talk, but maybe there is, and I know HUDCO kind of does this, they like, I think every month has like a new member coffee where like current members can come mingle with new members, and it's just like, you know, ways for new members to like put themselves out there and have the focus be on them.
Right.
You know, for joining. So networking and
What about the Chamber of Visibility itself, participating in community events like the Ferry Fest? Ardsley has their own version when they're back to live, getting a table, you know, and putting out, you know, I do think you need some sort of a written document on what your benefits are for businesses. And then if you're looking for members to just donate, or family members to just donate, maybe have some why do you want to support your local community chamber?
I saw a thing that where I saw somewhere, I think on Instagram, where you can like just dip your, it's like a set amount, it's like $5 or $10. Like, do you want to donate to the chamber? And you just dip your card and
Right,
you
so,
like, so maybe,
You've got a
That's
table
even
that has, right,
right. where
information for
people
both
can
options.
just- Right, so it's,
Support.
Right.
right.
It shows and you're visible, you know, maybe the restaurants will say, oh my, they're here, you know, they're a spokesperson for the community.
Right.
Yeah.
Because not
Yeah,
only the
visibility,
community
yeah.
attends those events, right? Sometimes I know if I had family members visiting, we'd all go down to the village. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
it just helps build
Yes, more visibility.
visibility.
for
And
the
it does,
chamber. Yep, as
Right.
far as
Right.
that.
And if we've had
Village
connections
actually.
with the villages, maybe we get a break, you know, on a table or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, as opposed to having
It's
to
like if
pay.
we show up for their
A vendor
trustee
fee.
meetings.
Right.
But it's true, I can see how that would be, you know, if we have an ask and we show up out of the blue as opposed to somebody that we've been seeing at their meetings
Right.
on a regular basis, a little harder to say, no, I'm going to dismiss you because, well, you've been, you know, kind of not dismissing me, you know,
Mhm.
it's just a human thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I know like in arts, I'm part of the multicultural committee.
Mhm.
Same thing, trying to have
Mhm.
increase
Increase.
participation. So we're gonna have a table at the 125th anniversary in October.
Yeah.
Which I
Maybe we should
Okay.
too.
I think
So
I'm,
Fabian and Nick, you hear that? Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I was just about
Oh.
to, oh, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just gonna say it's 10:30, so I have to jump, unfortunately.
Is it? Okay.
Fabian, do you
Thank
have to
you.
go?
Thank you for
off?
everything, though. And we'll talk soon. Bye.
You'll, yeah, you can follow, we'll send out like the notes.
We went already.
Fabian,
Who's really
do
on
you
it?
have to leave?
No, I was just going to mention that there are some members of the membership committee that have volunteered to sit at tables if we are ever at events. So we're prepared to do that if that's something we want to discuss.
And all the, right down the street, Kate has a big garage in her backyard. That's where all the chamber things
Oh,
are,
okay.
are stored. The chamber has tents and tables and chairs and all
That's right.
kinds of stuff.
But I have the ribbon cutting scissors.
Oh, you do?
They're in my, that's in my garage. I showed it to my husband one day. I said, what? What the heck
We
is
can
that?
put that in Kate's garage.
I should just go shove it in there.
We do need a tablecloth though, and I think we should just get that. Whose job is that? Let's see, that's probably, is that a Nick thing to
You
figure
want to
out?
get a covering? For, you know,
Yeah,
with
that
our
like has the
name.
logo. We have a banner, but like we don't have like a nice tablecloth. that
Oh,
has the
Avery
logo.
does, like Avery printers.
Yeah.
They're the cheapest. I used to do it for
Or
my
maybe that might
business.
be an Allen thing. Towards that.
Yeah.
Tablecloth?
Take a look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Avery and
Like maybe
Vista-
like a,
Vista
I feel like
print.
black is like sleek, and maybe that'll
make up colors.
make the color pop on our
Yeah.
logo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would look nice.
We did talk about that, Fabian, where we might need to find one if we had to do a table. So let's just, even if there's no plans for a table, let's just get one. We're gonna
Yeah.
will this.
Right.
Will this into being.
Speaking
Yeah.
to this-
Yeah, Vista Print and Avery, they have great
Okay.
pricing and, you know, it's like.
I'm so disappointed. I'm gonna be away for the 125th anniversary. It's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
in
10th, right?
Salem, Massachusetts. It's
October
October,
10th.
it's Columbus Day weekend.
Oh, yeah,
Salem. I've been to Salem. It's
I
fun
know,
in October.
There's 24 of us going, so it's gonna be,
yeah,
yeah,
when they launched the date, I was like, wait, that's Columbus Day weekend. I was like, oh.
yeah. It's like, I think a lot of
People
people are
go-
gonna be away.
I do once in a while. I'm kind of like, well, could we maybe get more people to come in the summer or like this 3-day weekend? And it's just not worth the effort of doing an event to get people to come because people just around here, they just like to go away when there's time and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Especially now, everyone's trying to just get away.
Right,
And
yeah.
work.
Right,
I'm
Right.
even like, I want to go away that weekend.
You wanna go again?
right.
Well, Fabian has a house, she can rent to all of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
She's in Vermont. Right?
her,
Yeah, I have a place in Vermont, a 3-bedroom.
she gave us a tour, it's gorgeous.
I want to rent it. Baby, we have to talk.
Yeah, she said just give her the dates. I think we'll be interested in skiing, I think, because that's what Eric wants
Yeah.
to do.
No, that's
Do you
yeah.
ski?
No, I when I lived in California, I did snowboarding. But Chris is getting on.
That's so odd. In California, you did snowboarding?
I don't know if
Obviously
my
not
thighs
in
are strong
California,
enough
but-
for that anymore. But
Too old.
this is great input. I mean, is there anything else that you guys can think of that I should
No, you
incorporate?
covered a lot. No, you covered
Okay,
a
I mean, there's
lot.
definitely gonna be, this is high level, so like, membership committee is gonna have to look at this and like really dive into like what we
To
have and
each.
what we wanna do, but it's good to have these ideas in here for me to detail. Or was I? Minority owned, we kind of, the under 40 group that, or like the, young business owner group that we had formed kind of fizzled out. And the only input we really got from that was that young businesses wanted more networking, which is like, fine, great, we can do that. So they kind of, membership committee ate them. And
So I should probably take the money that we've allocated then and just move it out.
yes,
and
yes,
shove
we
them
could
under
for under
membership.
40. Yep.
Okay.
But I do think it would be important to keep, I know minority owned committee was not super active and didn't have a ton of interest, but I think it's something that we should keep and should encourage
I believe
to
so,
build
too.
on, and should be a focus of finding, like, the chairs were great, but maybe they need new chairs, or maybe, there are people who joins the committee kind of late that might want to be a chair next year or something like that. I think that we have to figure out how to really focus on that.
Do we know which businesses took advantage of the TAP program?
There was
Is it
3.
It was 500.
I had tap.
No, there were
I had
750.
tap.
It was Fabian.
Fabian, that's right.
We got
Yeah.
a new member, which is a woman who, she's actually based in Mount Vernon, but she does, she goes to people. It's like kind of like a tea party kind of catering thing. Yep.
Yeah, she was in
I
there.
think it was just because it was 750. I think it was.
It was
just the two.
750, it was just 2. Yep,
Just
yep,
the 2.
yep, yep.
Yeah. So I don't know, Fabian, how is that working out for you? Is it? I don't want to put you on this. You don't have to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, it was just-
No, I mean, so far it's really good. It's really informative. It took them a while to establish the consultants I would be working with. I reached out to them at the beginning of the summer, but we literally just got started working a week ago. So it took a while to organize, but now that we are organized, they have a lot of templates. I think I'm working with pretty skilled people, and they are just working with the library of templates that the organization has to offer. So right now, yeah, it's a process of plugging in all of my business information and then them reviewing it, and then kind of circling back to how they
Okay.
can assist.
Okay, great. Well, when you're come to the end of it, let us know, how useful you felt it was, because that's certainly something that we can invest in. And I know that this is a program that TAP, they proposed it because they came up with it in partnership with, I think it was Community Capital, had clients that they wanted to support at the beginning of COVID. And so they came up with this program with TAP to like look at financials and like figure out how to pivot. So it's certainly like a new thing for them, but if they wanted to continue the program and it was useful to you, like that's something we could revisit for this committee for next year.
Yeah.
And then women, the women committee is like same thing with the event. Like we don't have a hard time getting people to join this committee, and it's great, that we have it and that we're doing these networking events. The focus is still, even this year, is still on networking events, which is great. We like women like to join and talk. I wonder if there's other things that we could be doing to support the female-owned businesses, and that would be great if we could at least like take a look at that, maybe do a survey or something next year of like, the networking is great, we love it, let's keep it. Is there anything else that the chamber can do specifically to support
Do
women?
we have speakers at the networking?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah, but is there more educational events,
Right.
maybe, and I always see like, I always kind of get invited to like, like women-based like funding, kind
Yeah,
of,
financial
financial,
always helpful.
services, like that kind of thing.
Maybe even do, rather than having one speaker, sometimes having
Like a
a
panel.
panel is always nice, if it's 3 people up there talking.
Yep.
They can
Yes,
kind of
we did. I put one
work
of
off
those
each other.
together a long time ago, it was a chamber-wide thing, and it was branding and marketing,
Always.
like making it,
Interesting.
boiling it, getting like the experts and like people who actually work in that area to like boil it down to like things, when should you hire someone and when could you, do it yourself, kind
Right.
of thing.
It could also be something like how to create your own TikTok to
Yeah,
and
like it
visibility.
could be like a workshop.
A
as
workshop,
opposed to
right.
we definitely like the idea of sending, especially for merchants, sending somebody to the physical business to help them with it, because that's something, same with minority owned, it's like access, and understanding how to do something and really one-on-one. That's why Tony from COSU, like he went around physically to the downtown businesses in Irvington that he thought might benefit from TAP to like speak to them about it. Like there is a lot of like one-on-one stuff that does need to happen, because not everybody's going to attend a workshop or feel comfortable attending a workshop and discussing something. Right, and then moving on to tourism, Westchester County, like I said before, there's some research done. I don't know that we'll have like something to launch at the beginning of 2022 like we wanted to, but I think that it's worth continuing to like do research and figure out how the Rivertowns can have like a visit Rivertowns kind of campaign, and certainly leveraging what the county's already doing and making sure that like whatever information we can put into that it's there on like the website and that they've built. Maybe it's focusing on like the restaurants that they're featuring and making sure every single one of our member restaurants are on that page, and getting them on there or something like that. And then we'd have to come up with a 2022 event schedule. I think that definitely Rivertown Public Market, the planning group that does that is considering coming back and maybe even doing 2 events, like one, in 2 different villages. That would be a great fundraiser for the chamber. That event in particular, we're thinking of taking over the alcohol sales. It's what Rocktoberfest. What is it called in Irvington? No, in Irvington. It's in September, but I think it's called Rocktoberfest. That's what it's a fundraiser for recreation, and they do the beer and wine sales with volunteers, right? And they charge like to come like a small amount to come into the event, and obviously the services from the villages are not, I don't think, are charged back. So we've learned it's a great fundraiser, and we want to try to model like the Rivertown model after that, so that it becomes a fundraiser for the chamber. The trolley events could certainly come back. There may be other events, fundraising events, maybe that that we could implement next year. Budget. There is no budget for next year, but I just wanted to say, after going through all of this and the budget for this year, off the top of your head, are there any like line items that you can think of that we should add into and budget for in the budget next year? Like, we've got this section for community table meals. Let's keep that. I think, my ad would be, and I can give you the numbers for this because we've done it before, adding in a section for the Rivertown Public Market and like counting on that certain amount in our budget would be great. And then the chamber's is able to commit, resources and time to helping to plan that, because that was another hang up. It's an all volunteer group and we need more support, more staff support. So budgeting for that far in advance. Is there anything else that we should be adding in? Like, when it comes to networking events, do we need to come up with, obviously networking events can also generate income, and before we had a budget, this is like really the first year we've ever had an actual budget like this, thanks to Gina and me being like,
And
we have to have a physical budget. It was very much like, okay, what are our costs? This is how much we have to raise in like sponsorships and tickets. We still will approach it that way. We still want there to be income from the event to cover costs. And maybe if it becomes a fundraiser, that's good also. So like if we're going to add networking events in here, we would have to bump up the sponsorships and the ticket amount that we're budgeting for to at least cover what we would spend on that. So maybe, having an idea of how many networking events we want to try to do and how much we would allocate. Right?
And we could see, I'd like to see what the cost was in the past, because I was part of it then. So
we talked about returning to in-person meetings, but not asking for, before we would ask the restaurants just to like give food and then people would buy drinks. And this time we decided we're just not, the chamber's position going forward is that we want to pay for these things at the businesses that we're
And
going
the
to.
restaurants, this is an impact for us to ask for.
But same thing for all other businesses.
But
You know,
they'll
like if
donate
we're
the
gonna go to
space.
HUDCO, they've always, right,
Right.
HUDCO, you know, they have space to offer and we've never paid them, but you know, maybe we should offer to pay
We could
something
offer,
for it now. So meetings, what is the budget gonna be
For the in-person meetings.
for in-person?
And we're targeting in-person meetings, possibly a Christmas party, but then not really starting until next year. with in-person.
Yeah. This is, we're talking 2022 line items that we might wanna add. What was I gonna say? In-person meetings, budget in-person. Oh, maybe just out of necessity or out of, you know, for budget purposes, maybe we don't go back to in-person meetings every single month, even if we can from a COVID perspective, because we're gonna be paying more for these meetings. Maybe we alternate and keep Zoom meetings one month, in person the next month. That might be an option too, especially if we're gonna try to implement other kinds of networking.
Since we're skipping, yeah, exactly. Since we skipped July and August, anyway, so we're done. We have 10.
10.
Yeah, so we can do five.
What else? I'm thinking of what we need to budget for. Is there any kind of budget stuff that comes to mind? I guess if we're gonna be tabling at events, having a rough number for like if we pay to have a table of those events. Right. Dollars. No. Yeah.
Oh, that was, yeah, I'm thinking of fairs. No.
Yeah, we're not selling anything. So usually
Yeah.
it's pretty low.
And I have a table. Well, I guess we have a table. We just need the tablecloth. Alan.
We'll put that in the budget this year. That can go under supplies. We've got 500 for it.
Right. Don't buy a $500 tablecloth. Please clear that with me.
Any other line items? Okay. That's that. Obviously, there'll be, you know, more budget.
There'll be more. When's it
discussions, but
start?
this is- I just wanted to like, you know, help you, you know,
Set
as
up for
you-
2022.
Yep. Then the last item is, and I really kind of talked about all of this already, is the board positions, which is this thing for next year. And there's the people that we invited to this meeting were the voting positions. Sometimes we invite committee chairs, which are the non-voting positions, and you know, maybe if we need to have a brainstorming session again after I, you know, go through and make edits to our vision, maybe we invite the committees, but also it's almost better sometimes to just kind of like be more concise and have the voting positions just kind of decide these are our goals, and then you know, here's, you know, then let's try to get people on these committees to follow through with these goals next year.
Can we plan on doing some meetings where the board meets with each committee individually? It might get a little too noisy if you have everybody showing up.
That's
with all of
true.
their ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe say, you know, on. "Hey, you
In
came
the
in, do you
beginning,
Zoom?"
Elizabeth and I were having one-on-ones, and it was a lot for us to
That
do
was a
that.
lot. You were doing it.
But maybe at the start of 2022, maybe that's what needs to happen, as opposed to having like just the board talking about things. Maybe there is like a voting board connects with committees on
Yeah.
one-on-ones to get everybody started for the year.
I would like that in the beginning of the year. I think
That's good.
January is generally a quiet month for most businesses. I know it is for me. And so I can spend more time.
Instead of
Yeah, because it might get noisy.
good idea. So basically keeping the premise the same, although I removed the requirement of the vice president to become the president. We didn't even get a vice president this year. There has to be a vice president next year. We have to find someone. You know, typically these roles, I think in our bylaws are like, I think that it's a 2-year commitment. Obviously that is a flexible thing if people don't want to follow through with it. I was hoping everybody would be here and we could get a yay or a nay if we can count on them to come back or not for next year. Obviously I think you and I we're in for next year. We know
And
that.
for a penny.
Secretary, I'll have to talk to Kate about that. But again, emphasizing we really need a vice president next year. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways that person can help me.
Well, you know, I mean,
Um,
you're supposed to have somebody.
And there's
you
more
know,
that I could have paid more attention to the tourism, you know, the tourism committee, and helped them more if there was a vice president kind of taking some of the things
Sure.
that I've been working on. Same thing with like, you'll see I want to focus on a fundraising committee next year. Like
Right, and I
we
can
need-
handle.
yeah, right, like, we need more, we need the board to be full, so that, like I said it from the beginning, not any one person is doing all of the things. And there would definitely still be different commitment levels, like you and I will still have a higher commitment level than the vice president, but, you know, or even then, you know, a village rep in Hastings that has to go to board trustee meetings, you know, Barb makes their job really easy.
Yeah.
There will be different commitment levels still within that, you know, but
Yeah,
It
so
would be
that's
great
where we
to-
need to put the call out. That's one
to
of the-
fill it out and, you know, so that we all work together to support one
Maybe make a point of speaking to that again. I know you have in the past in the general meeting, but like make the point that we need a more robust board.
Right.
To implement all of this. It's just impossible to do.
And the secretary job is pretty like straightforward. Kate may even still be into it. It's really just somebody that's like taking notes at every meeting and just making sure we have a record of everything that's happening at meetings and making sure that that gets posted on the website and just making sure that information is recorded and public, which is important for a nonprofit.
Absolutely. And I think with recording these Zoom meetings, that helps.
That helps,
enormously. Now, when
yes.
we're doing in-person meetings, we can't have the
It'll be
camera
different.
rolling, but
Yeah.
but this definitely helps.
I spoke to this already, like streamlining the village representative positions to a government affairs and community person. And the two, you know, main goals there is to be at the board of trustee meetings. Like, you know, I know sometimes they have 2 a month and there's like working versus not working. At least if we can figure out the ones that are, you know, the more like public comment kind of meetings and making sure they show up to those meetings every month. And being a liaison to all the departments and schools and things like that, but not necessarily, you know, doing as much outreach as they have time to, but just being like, if a school reaches out and it's like, hey, we have this thing coming up, being like, talk to your village rep about it, and having the village rep really kind of be the person to summarize that and be like, okay, this thing is happening. Now, staff, can you share this information? That dynamic has worked really well where like the committees come up with an idea and they content and like what they want it to look like. And then the staff can really not spend time like helping them come up with all of that content and then also spend time promoting. That dynamic has worked really well. And then merchant, this is like a heavy lift, but I really would like for it to happen, is getting one merchant, at least one merchant on board per village to be the point of contact for the downtown businesses in that village and getting out there and getting their contact information. Who is that business owner and how do we get in touch with them? If there's really important information that needs to be disseminated from the village or from the chamber, street closure or whatever, that merchant person, you know, has touched base with all of their peers in the downtown, and the peers in the downtown are more likely to like pay attention to a random email from like their business neighbor than the barrage of emails they get from the chamber or the village. I just think it's like a more like community focus to reaching out to brick and mortars would be very helpful. Non-voting commission positions, obviously keeping tourism committee and trying to have co-chairs. Women in business won't be a problem. Minority owned businesses spoke on that. Membership, need to keep that. I know Fabian's been the only chair for that, but it'd be great to get a co-chair to share the load.
Membership.
Yes. It's been great having Nick come on to like facilitate some of these things, and that would be helpful. But I still think we need co-chairs on every committee, so that it's not too much pressure on any one person. And then we have to have a fundraising committee next year. We have to, because it's so, you know, even cool, let's get a grant, but things are evolving such that I think that there will be opportunities, even if we do get a third grant, to do actual fundraising next year that will set us up for success in the future. We have to have a committee that's focused on fundraising for the chamber and making all these ideas about how we can get funds come to fruition.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that I guess maybe we started late. So
We did
maybe
start
we're still over time. Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
get going.
Fabian, and you gotta go.
And I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, we're gonna do notes, we'll say, Alan, if you can send this recording and notes out to the board whenever it's ready.
Okay.
And I, with the emphasis that like, if you couldn't attend, please take the hour to like listen and overview, because we really need input from the board, and we need everybody to be kind of on the same page so that we can accomplish these things. I don't know that we'll have, another board meeting like this before the end of the year. There might be some things, there definitely will be some things we have to vote on. The one huge input, I mean, obviously everything that I talked about, if you have input, I want it, you should send it. If you weren't here, just putting it out there. But the biggest thing is focusing on who the board's going to be for next year. Can you come back to your role? And, are you able to participate in, finding people to make the board and the committees more robust next year? It was really like, I think it was like me and Elizabeth and Dina, and I forget if there maybe Kate had some input. Like that was how we put together the board last year, and a lot of like outreach to people who we thought might be good from it, and emails to get people to like know that we were looking for board members. It would be great if the current board, especially the people who aren't coming back, try to find a replacement. But also if the full board can like rack their brains and talk to people and get people to join the board and take on these positions.
I'm gonna continue my role.
Okay.
Will
Yes.
have me.
Great. Yes. we will. Yeah, so we'll also have to figure out, I know I changed the village reps, so it really would be like you and Janet combining your roles. So we'll have a
Heather.
conversation with Janet Kovac.
Oh,
No.
No.
You're Ardsley.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're not Irvington.
right. We already have two, Heather and I.
Right, so then there would be you and Heather. Does Heather want to shift to that merchant role? Which might be an easy transition, and I know she's already kind of,
I was gonna say, I thought
Yeah.
that's what she already was doing, but.
yeah. I mean, the roles were, I think the interpretation was different for every village. Also, like Hastings is way different because obviously we have somebody supporting things differently than the other villages. So we'll have to, for village reps, we'll have to have a little more conversation. Just, it would be important to know, who's going to come back, and then we can figure out, who's going to be in what role, and getting board members to really buy into filling out the gaps that we have in the board for next year.
Okay.
We need a lot of help.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for staying on for so long.
Thank you so much, Gina. Where can I
give you
put
some
my empty
bagels to
plate?
take?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Where
We
do I-
thought we
where-
would have more people in person. I'm sorry, Dina.
Where can I
Bye,
put my empty
guys.
plate?
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, I'll see you later. I was gonna say we could stop the recording, but we're done. You wanna
And on the
bye,
left.
everyone.
I think I warmed it up